Hi there. I am with Dorie Clark today. And Dorie, welcome. I'm so grateful for your time.
Eileen, thank you. I'm glad to have the chance to talk with you.
Yeah, so let me give you a little introduction and you can correct me if I forget anything because there's a lot to it here. Dorie is a marketing specialist. She is a teacher at several of the most prestigious universities in the United States. She is a coach and advisor. She's worked with companies like Google and Microsoft and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. She has written a trilogy of books. One that I've just finished that we're going to talk about right now called Entrepreneurial You, which is monetize your experience, create multiple income streams, and thrive. And because I'm kind of shallow, I totally judge a book by the cover, and it's beautiful.
I can't take any credit for it, but I appreciate that. Yeah, the team at HBR did Harvard Business Review Press, my publisher, did a great job with the cover.
They did a great job. And what's inside is even better.
Thank you.
So why don't you give us the little sort of synopsis of what we can expect inside in Entrepreneurial You?
Well, Eileen, this is Entrepreneurial You is basically a book about how to make more money, and so I was pretty pumped to research it and to try to implement it in my own life, and then to share some of those insights with other people. I spent the early part of 2016 interviewing 50 of the most successful entrepreneurs that I knew, people making high 6 and 7 and 8-figure incomes, and really talking to them in depth about what are their business models, how specifically are they earning money, and what are the pieces that other people can learn from and replicate, whether you are someone with a day job who is looking to create just like one side income stream, just to have a little kind of side bet for yourself and learn some new things and make a little extra money on the side. Or if you are already an entrepreneur, but you are essentially working at capacity and looking for ways to leverage yourself more and create more passive income.
Yeah. I mean, that's important for everybody. So tell us like your reason for why multiple income streams are really, I don't want to just say logical, but really like the way to go. Smart business.
Well, I am a big fan of multiple income streams for a couple of reasons. One is that if you are in the camp of people that has a day job, this can sometimes honestly be a little more precarious than we think. And so I start Entrepreneurial You by telling the story about how when I was in my first job out of graduate school as a newspaper reporter, I got laid off unexpectedly. And this was, this is like the early days of journalistic layoffs. So it really was unexpected. And, those cheap bastards gave me 4 days severance pay, and then I had to figure something out.
And wasn't it on the eve of September 11th?
That is correct. I got laid off on Monday, September 10th, 2001, which was, let me tell you, the next day was not a great day to be looking for a job. So I really discovered in that moment that things that you think are kind of a sure thing, a safe bet, sometimes are not. So it's good to have just something else that you have been working on or developing as kind of an insurance policy, if nothing else. But it also, it turns out, can be a good way for you to be developing your own skills as well, which can make you more valuable in that day job. But also, let's say you're already an entrepreneur, you're already doing great stuff. I think that many of us have found ways where sometimes we're leaving money on the table. I know for a long time, I started my business as a marketing strategy consultant. And so what I did for my business, the way that I earned money for many years, was a company would come to me and I'd do like a marketing plan for them, pretty basic. But when my first book, Reinventing You, came out, which is a book aimed at individual professionals about how they can reinvent their careers, I started to get a number of inquiries from people about, oh, do you do coaching? Do you do, individual executive coaching? And for a long time, I was just like, no, I don't do that. Because, that was sort of my frame of reference. It's like, well, no, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
But after a certain while, you're just like, oh, come on. Like, you're sort of being an idiot. People want to give you money. Like, why don't you do this? And so thinking about ways that you can expand your offerings so that if people are asking for something, you can provide it, or so that you can provide different services to audiences that you're already working with. Or, maybe there's a lot of people who are in this situation, if they're a professional service provider, maybe you have a high price service. The vast majority of people who are interested in it maybe can't afford the really hands-on bespoke version of what you do. Well, is there a way to do a cheaper version? Is there a way you could create, let's say, an online course that more people could afford? It helps them and it helps you in order to have that. So there's a lot of options out there, and I really want to help people begin to think more creatively about different things that they can do that are not going to pull them in a million directions, but are just kind of subtle, slight add-ons that can actually add a lot to their bottom line and reach more people.
Right, right. And you know what? I am absolutely a product of, or a student, because I came to know you through your first book. And around that time, I had about 1,000 followers, and now I have over 25,000. So, I
What a
mean,
pro. I love it.
yeah. So, I tell everybody, you've got to read this book, and you've got to really listen to what you have to say, because it's not rocket science. So, but before somebody can maybe start offering ancillary products to, their bigger picture business, what do you think is a logical place to start?
Yeah. So I would say for if someone is literally just starting out, they haven't done anything yet, the very first step that you need to take is building trust with your audience. That's number one. I think that sometimes where things go wrong, or where kind of bad stereotypes emerge, is that sometimes you see people who are just like, oh, make thousands of dollars tomorrow. And, of course, like rationally, as professionals, we know that's not real. And so you look at something like that, which is an extreme use case of somebody just kind of being a charlatan out there, and you think, oh, well, all this is bunk anyway. No one can make any money off the internet. No one can, make a following, blah, blah, blah. And so you just kind of ignore it and say, well, that's not possible. And that's what I did for a long time too. I mean, I was a serious professional working for serious companies. And so I didn't want to get involved in a lot of like online marketing things, because it just, a lot of it seemed sleazy. But the truth is, I came to realize, I mean, duh, right? Online is just a channel. People use it in different ways. Some people use it in good ways. Some people use it in bad ways. There's plenty of ways that you can use it in good, ethical, smart ways. And it really does increase the range of people that you can connect with. But so the key here is that you're not going to make money overnight. Absolutely not. But you can, with steady effort, make money over time. And the way that you do that is, for a while, you do a lot of stuff for free. And you need to do that, because who's going to give you money like right away? Nobody, because they don't know who you are. You need to build that trust. And so you create content, let's say it's blogging or a podcast or, whatever your version of that is, for a while, so that people can actually see, A, that you have good ideas and that they like them and respect them. B, that they like your style, that they feel like they relate to you as a person and like, oh, this is a person I'd like to, have around in my life and listen to. Like, yeah, I vibe with this person. And so once you begin to do that and you get a following, that's the place when you have the ability to monetize it and sort of turn on that spigot later. I mean, I feel really blessed. I met with a guy yesterday. I have a guy who's a private coaching client, and he, we're working together in a 6-month coaching program, which is not inexpensive. And I told him about something that I'm going to be doing later this fall, which is like a private mastermind retreat that I'm doing. And I said to him, look, I don't want to be like, oh, buy more stuff from me. I said, if you're interested in this, I think it could be good for you. We could actually modify your coaching agreement so that the money you've already paid me, we could just shave off a little of the coaching time and apply it to this other thing instead, if you wanted to do that. And he's like, no. He's like, I want both. He said, I want the full coaching and I want this mastermind retreat, and I'm happy to pay for it. I don't care that it's extra. He said, you have earned that trust with me. And if you think that it will be good for me, then I want to do it. And when you hear something like that, it's an honor that someone really believes that. And it's something that you do earn over time. And I think that's something we all should be striving for, is to really be seen as an honest broker to the people that we're connecting with.
Right. So I know, I don't want to sound like a stalker, but I know that you have some like guides and some sort of assessments online, because I think some people say, and maybe we have a conversation about stand out, but some people may think like, how do I know what is different about me? So what do you say to people who are sort of feeling like, my group are web designers, and there's lots of us out there using WordPress and building websites for people. What do you say to them on how to figure out what your unique selling potential is as your own brand?
Yeah, well, it's a really important kind of foundational question. So I'm glad you raised it, Eileen. And yes, to pick up on your point, I do actually have a tool that people can use for free that can hopefully help them with that process. It's the the 42-page standout self-assessment, and it's 139 questions. So it's pretty thorough, that walks you step by step through how to figure out, what it is that's different and distinctive about you, and then how to get out there and build a following around it. And if folks would like to get that for free, they can go to dorieclark.com. That's DORIECLARK.com/join, JOIN, and they can get that standout self-assessment. So hopefully that can be a helpful tool. But what I would say broadly is, first of all, a lot of people just really stress too much about this. I mean, they're just like, what's different? What's different? And, first of all, number one, oftentimes that is an emergent property. That is not something that you can just like pick the minute you launch your business and say, it's going to be this, and then you just like execute it. No, we don't have that clarity as human beings. And sometimes it's just something that happens because we, get certain kinds of work, let's say certain kinds of assignments. And we're like, oh, I really like doing this thing. I want to do more of this thing. So don't worry about it so much in the beginning. I think that's fine. And the second thing is, frankly, what makes you distinctive. It's just you. It's like nobody is doing something that's that radically different. If you're a WordPress developer, okay, some people might have like a better aesthetic than some people, or I don't know. Some people might have trained at some glamorous thing. I don't know. But fundamentally, you're kind of doing the same thing. And you know what? I do marketing consulting. So, yes, some people have better ideas than others, but you're all kind of doing the same thing. We just got to get over ourselves. It's not like it's so radically different. What makes it different is, do people relate to you? Do they relate to the way that you do it? One of my favorite examples, there's a woman who's built this big brand named Chris Carr, and she's a young woman, and she got diagnosed with cancer at a young age, and she wrote this book, and there's been a million sequels now. It's called Crazy Sexy Cancer, right? And there are a lot of books that have been written about cancer and how to deal with cancer and everything.
Yeah. I've had cancer, so I know that they were all sent to me. I get it. Yeah.
Yes. And so meanwhile, if you're a 65-year-old guy, you are not going to read Crazy Sexy Cancer. And if you are a 25-year-old woman, you're probably going to read that and say, oh my God, that's what I've been waiting for. And I mean, she's telling you like, oh, get enough sleep, make sure you exercise. I mean, it's like whatever, eat healthfully. These are the things that it's like everybody's been saying forever about how to stay healthy. It's not so new, but it's packaged in a different way that it makes it relatable. It makes it feel like, oh, this is meant for me. And if people can feel like that, like, oh, I love this person's approach, this is meant for me, then that is why they will choose you. And so I think anything that you can do that just shares more of who you are, more of what your personality is. There's another example, a guy I know in New York named Steve Kamb, Kamb, and he has this whole brand that he's built around nerd fitness. And it's great. It's like, they always say the best brands are polarizing. And so I look at nerd fitness, and it's like, this like great fitness, they have camps, they have workouts, whatever, for people who are like into Star Wars and Star Trek and whatever. And I mean, this is the last thing that I would ever want to go to. I mean, shoot me first, please. Like, I've seen Star Wars, like, I don't know, once when I was 8. Like, I liked it well enough, but it's not my thing. I'm definitely not going to go to a camp for it. But let me tell you, if you are a nerd who is into fitness, this is your nirvana. So that's that, just bring yourself.
Yeah. I love that. So funny. Okay, because we all have to put food in our fridges. At what point have we put enough of ourselves out there and built a list? Do you think we can start charging for stuff?
Yeah. So I think first of all, we should always, hopefully from day one, be charging some people for some things, right? I mean, you got to get the wheels turning. So the key is like, don't expect to make money from your blog, let's say, the minute you start your blog, because that's different. That's like the slow burn marketing, So you can't really rationally expect someone to pay you for your marketing activity. My cat's taking advantage of my being on the Zoom call to do naughty things. Excuse me, Phil. No, that's wrong. So. Anyway, but simultaneously, of course, you should be thinking about doing stuff like like charging people that you are connecting with, right? Like, let's say you send out a note, okay, I've launched a business. So you send a note out to your contacts and you say, hey, I've launched this graphic design, web design business, and here's the kinds of things that I do. Here's the kinds of people that I would like to help and work with. And so you put that out there. Excuse me. Do you see? This is what I'm doing, sweetheart.
Hello.
Okay?
Hello.
You're a good boy, and we need you to not scratch. All right. All right. Thank you, Phil. I appreciate that. So
I have goats in my backyard right now.
really, I wish that you could have the goat on this show, because that would be.
It's called goat-caping. Talk about a business.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good.
I know.
Okay. So you're putting out this, this message. And so, you ask it's okay. It's a little weird maybe to feel like you're hitting up your friends, but if your friends come to you after getting that message and they say, well, I'd like to hire you. Great. Or your friends might refer you to other friends. That would be great. So charge them. But just be thinking, okay, sales at first is different than marketing. And the marketing you do with no expectation of immediate remuneration. The sales, the kind of person to person, like, hey, Eileen, I have this business. In case you know anyone who needs blah, 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 then great. By all means, start getting money in the door for that.
Yeah, that's great. All right. I know that we are up against our time.
We can go over a little bit. It's okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So when you say, we talk a bit about discipline in the book, and you talk about having a sort of, I think it was 5 things when you are evaluating, I think it was in terms of speaking engagements, like, is this good for me? And in the context, it was speaking, but I think it could be projects, or it could be setting up classes or appearances or whatever. What do you think are, and I feel like as many people want to say yes to so many things as there are people who want to say no to everything because it's scary. So do you have a very sort of linear approach? I'm going to write down like 12 or 5 sort of variables, and if they hit half of them, I'm going to say yes or no. Or what do you think is good in terms of putting yourself out there? Like, do you always start with the big picture? Like you say, sometimes you evolve into products or talks or coaching. Like I have this friend, Laura, and she has found herself as sort of the go-to online person for roofers.
Wow.
So it's like so random, but the roofing community loves her, and she's got
good to get in with the roofing community. Yeah.
Right. So what do you think are like some steps for saying yes or saying no? Like, what are your evaluation triggers, I guess?
Yeah. So if someone is not willing or not able to pay you your full fee, and you have to decide, is this going to be worthwhile for me? I mean, I don't really necessarily. I mean, like maybe if it's something like buying a house where it's like a really big deal, then I'll make the formal list of pros and cons. But for smaller things, honestly, this is where I think your gut is actually really helpful. I mean, there's all this research now about the microbiome and about how you have all of these serotonin and other brain chemicals in your stomach. So when we talk about a gut feeling, your gut is actually pretty smart about these things. And so I just really ask myself, if I were to stick to my guns and miss out on this opportunity as a result of that, would I feel fine about that, or would I feel bad about that? And that's really the question to ask. Like, if you're going to be sort of regretting forever, like, oh, I could have done blah, 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 but I but I didn't, then all right, fine, be a little bit more flexible. It's okay. But if you're like, you know what, if these guys are just asking me to do something that is going to be way too much work, it's not going to be fun, I'm going to be resentful the whole time I'm doing it, then, but let it go for sure. But I mean, the reasons that one might want to do an engagement for free or for, a low fee or something like that, I mean, you can kind of rattle them off. One might be that it's with a brand that would be very advantageous to you. So, for instance, lots of people, for instance, do like TEDx talks, and nobody gets paid for a TEDx talk, but that has become a good brand that people have heard of, and so they're going to be impressed. Like, oh, you got to do a TEDx talk. So most people make the calculation, what the heck, I'll do that for free. You also might be in a position where the right people are seeing your work. I mean, if it's speech, for instance, or, maybe, some design that like lots of people will be exposed to, that could be good, because ideally, if it's right in front of your target audience, you can have visibility where people are like, hey, who did that? I need that person. It can lead to other business. It might also just be a cool opportunity. I mean, maybe it's something that will, they might not pay you, but they're flying you and paying expenses to go to a cool place that you want to go to. So there's a lot of things that you can factor in.
Yeah. So this will be my last question. When, you talk to at least 50 people, I think, for this book, what was sort of a surprise success for you in terms of revenue generation, or that somebody did that you said, oh my gosh, like I wish I had thought about that 5 years ago?
Yeah, there's so many different ways that people make money. It's actually really stunning. One of the things that I thought was actually just most personally interesting to me, this is actually a reason that I wrote the book to begin with, was I was interested in exploring online courses. That was something that had been a goal of mine, and he's back. Okay, we're really going to behave now, sweetheart. So I had been wanting to learn about online courses, and I wanted to know how to do it right, because a lot of times you hear these horror stories about, oh, I spent so much time, you spend so much money, and just nobody buys it. And so I interviewed a number of people in Entrepreneurial You about how to create online courses effectively. And so I took that knowledge and I immediately put it into play. And so in April of 2016, I launched a pilot version of an online course. And then in September of that year, I actually launched it. It's called Recognized Expert, which is now my flagship course. And that's been phenomenal for me. It was just a great learning experience. I've had 150 people go through the course, and we've really built up this great community from it. And so that's been something that's been very transformative. And what I came to realize is that in many ways, when you're able to find something, some vehicle to create a community, that makes other things possible downstream. So for instance, I've started doing live events like mastermind retreats or, in-person workshops and that kind of stuff. And that really is stemming from, not everyone who attends is part of the Recognized Expert community, but in many ways, they're sort of the first audience of beta testers, because you're able to reach this interested group and say, hey, would you find this helpful? And then you see how many people raise their hands, and it gives you a really good market indicator of what would be desirable. So I think that's been the best positive indicator for me.
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, there's so many tools out there. I spoke with Chris Badgett of Lifter LMS on how to put together courses and online, and he's got a great product that for WordPress that's free. And then I upgraded because I was like, I'm getting so much for free. I can't even justify this. I have to pay him.
Yeah.
So there's lots and lots of stuff out there. And like you say, or you say it in the book, out of courses, you can have workbooks and you can have all sorts of other products that I guess you just need to be creative and have some confidence around putting it out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is the key. This is doable for anyone. This is not like, oh, only some special people can do this. That's ridiculous. It's, people who have that attitude are either A, not doing it and they're looking for an excuse, or B, they are doing it and they're looking for a way to put other people down and just make themselves feel special. Neither is good, neither is healthy. Anyone can do these things. This is not, as you say, it's not rocket science. You need to be a little focused. You need to be doing the right things. But once you know what the right things are, and in Entrepreneurial You, I really tried as best I could to lay them out in a very systematic fashion so that people can evaluate what income streams would be right for them and most optimal for their type of business. Then it's really just a matter of focus and persistence and making it happen.
Right, right. And one thing for my audience is they all have clients. So even if you say to yourself, I never want to be a speaker or teach a course, doesn't mean you can't bring that idea to your client and then get the income coming back or the expertise for setting up their email lists, creating their online courses, all of the ancillary things, doing their downloads or PDFs or whatever, for their opt-in offers. So there's lots of opportunities out of the whole entrepreneur category.
That's exactly right. And for folks who want to take it a step further, we had been talking a little bit earlier, Eileen, about my standout self-assessment, but I also did create one for the new book, Entrepreneurial You, which is the 88-question Entrepreneurial You workbook.
Right.
And that actually helps people think very specifically about their own business and how they might create multiple income streams that apply to them in their own lives. And so if anyone is interested in getting that, they can go to dorieclark.com, again, DORIECLARK.com/entrepreneur.
Yeah, great. Great. All right. And I'll have links to all of that in our little show note area.
Cool.
Dorie, I wish you like some sleep and some rest and all the best with your book. And it's such a treat to get to see you and have a chat. So thank you very, very much.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Eileen. Great to talk with you.
Great to speak with you.